Hey, how's it going? I have some cards, but I also had been thinking about something that Rick DeSantis said, and it's just been on my mind so much. And it's that he wanted to ban, like, Black history because he doesn't want the students of today, I guess the Caucasian students, he doesn't want them to hate themselves. And I thought, well, you kind of let the cat out of the bag, bro. Like, when I was young, which was like 30 years ago, younger, more years even, when I was in school, where everyone was first learning about some Black history, and there was also at that time like Black history happening. Like when I was young, like in elementary school, there was like Black Panther stuff happening, and famous assassinations were fresh in people's minds. I came after, but I mean, we still see the effects of that stuff today, and we've worked not much out. So, I mean, with each other. Oh, I guess I should interrupt myself to remind you to take a look at my signs there. Mainly like it's like entertainment and opinion commentary that I'm doing here. Great, now I messed up my whole situation. Alright, so, and then like today, not, like I said, stuff that was happening when I was very young and way before I came along, way before my parents came along, there's been this trend of the way Black people are treated in this country, the United States. And so, newsflash, we don't like it. But to hide it, to try and like wipe it away when, well, it's been here, like, for the whole time, like, for many people's lifetimes, and I know they're trying to scour libraries and sanitize, like, the film industry and stuff like that, and it's not gonna work, though, because soon people at the head of this type of wave of activity are not going to forever be in that position. Change happens, and there's, it's ridiculous to try and like wipe away the evidence when it's still happening. Like, the Black history is still happening, and the Black history is, by the way, American history. Like, it's already disjointed and crazy. Like, don't take out more and make it even more, hard to comprehend. But the thing is there are people, you can't, like, erase all of our memories, People might have private historical collections of their own, to read or to watch or listen to, whatever. Like, threaten those things that inform you and make you aware of what already happened, so that in a perfect world or a better world, you don't repeat the same thing and cause the same problems, or you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to perpetuate the same thing. At some point, everyone starts to get rubbed the wrong way about it, and including him. Like, obviously, he is cognizant of the idea that things were done to the Black people that are a bad look for the white people. The only problem with that is they haven't stopped doing those things. Um, Maybe they don't happen in the volume they did, like when I was a kid or when I was younger, like particularly in the South, mainly, is where this type of like escaped slave revenge, like getting dragged off and being literally dragged in the road, like behind a truck. And it's like there's a thirst for this. And boy, I wish that it would get quenched, or people would figure out, like, where does that spring from, and then like quick go rip it out at the roots, because it is a bad look, and it's bad to hear. But what I started to say was, when I was a kid and I was learning this stuff with the other kids in my class, who were actually all different races, but there were several white kids. It was by no means dominant anything. It was a very mixed sort of situation. But the neighborhood was like Latino, so I don't know. It's just interesting that this particular class I'm thinking of had that blend going. But why am I talking about that? DeSantis and the getting rid of the history. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, things, like I said, things were happening then, like while we're learning about all these terrible things that happened. And then, there's always more to the story, too. It's not just the story of, like, the bad, mean people chasing the other people that are, like, well, they're escaped, so they're bad too. But, like, no, because they're not even where they are because of any of their own, like, self-direction. The whole time they're basically kidnapped, and then everything they do is under duress. And, like, I don't think people kind of grasp what it would be like to have that level of control removed from you, when either you once had it, or if that is too many generations away, you want it. Like, you don't want to have, say, like, the owner slash father slash whatever oppressor getting mad at you because you did something wrong, and then decide to, like, sell your wife to one stranger and then your kid to another. Or they just might do it not even thinking of you at all, which I don't even know which is worse of those things, but they're bad things to do to people. It's just not good. But then I'm thinking, well, he's in Florida, and where a lot of escaped slaves ended up was Florida, and they were able to blend into, like, the alligator corridor of the swamp or whatever, because they had assistance from the indigenous people that were there, or they already, like, knew some kind of bushcraft or whatever. But I mean, that's where a lot of people sort of disappeared and blended in with native families, or just, until, like, all the commotion was over, just sort of were able to disappear, hopefully. But my point is if you start looking at the indigenous people, the colonists don't look great there either. So what are you going to erase everything, when, like, you can take stuff from public institutions, I suppose, but you can't take memories, and you can't take traditions. And the more you sort of compound the things that are actively happening while you're also actively trying to hide them, and, like, don't remember stuff that you totally know to be the truth, like, that is just, it seems crazy. Like, it doesn't seem like it would hold up at all to scrutiny or to time or anything. Like, it just seems like a doomed to fail effort. Like, don't even bother. But I guess he's gonna. So we get to witness that. I'm just kind of struck by the fact that it's actually like kind of a weirdly protective thing to do, but I don't, it's like when I was a kid, I keep starting to say it and I don't say it. I don't know that anybody was feeling like hating themselves about what happened. I know, felt bad and they thought it was horrible and they were like, wow, that's really terrible and no one should be treated like that. But no one was in there at the age that you start learning this stuff, which is like 8 or 9, like 4th grade. There's not that kind of self-examination. I mean, maybe kids are a lot different today. I don't know. I kind of doubt it, though. Because self-hate is like a sort of more complex, grown-up thing where you've, gone through some stuff and maybe not well, and you are like mad at history because it's gonna make you think about things that obviously, like, there's some kind of reflection you're getting back. Like, there's a level of like responsibility, which I always think is there's an unfortunate thing that happens with like broad swath sort of generalization, but when it comes to like Caucasian colonists, descendants, just white people that don't necessarily have to be from here, don't have to necessarily have descendants or be descendants of people that were colonizers. Like, you could just be from someplace completely else that had nobody in your line took part in any of like that kind of American history. But if you are in a place where you just happen to look like everyone else, or things being the way they are, this would be like a conceptual situation, because there's no like big rounding up of white people right now unless they're at a protest. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that kind of gathering. But there's like, in the moment, if it was like a bunch of black people getting rounded up, they would not be trying to differentiate like, are you a native one, or did you come from someplace else? Are you just like wrong place, wrong time, or are you a part of this group that we're rounding up? Like, those questions, if they get asked, don't get asked until after the fact. And in that type of dynamic, people tend to get hurt. And so, in the event were that to go the other way, though, where there was a reason for rounding up white people, I mean, if there's a guy called Hawk, and he does Hawk's podcasts, and he's like a TikToker, but he also is on YouTube, and he was talking about how, oh no, I'm getting sidetracked and I lost my train of thought. Shoot. Well, so I was talking about the santis and how it's obviously like something that he feels, because why bring it up otherwise? And like woke, he's turned it into something completely that it isn't. Although it did originate from like, from what I understand, like the times of slavery, where it referred to staying like woke, like kind of awake even when you're sleeping, in case you have to jump up and run, or get out of the way of a beating, in your sleep, like, or to hear someone you care about getting, taken away somewhere else, there would have been a lot of reasons to like sleep with one eye open, which is the way that I understood the term to be when I first heard it, and then it's gone through all these evolutions as people just attach any old kind of meaning to it. So you may be aware that Mr. DeSantis is like the woke guy, and everything in his view, and a lot of others, but like he has a very particular sort of race-based negative wielding of the word, like, or like caring, like having empathy for people, and like it's just such a weird dichotomy, and then for him to be like that and like against everything woke, which would be, it's kind of a lot. It covers a lot of territory from what I can tell, but it seems to be all of the things that you don't want to come out and say the actual words because it sounds bad. Like, again, he doesn't want to look bad, but trying to get rid of it looks bad because, like, what are you trying to hide, bro? Like, well, why is it hurting you? Like, why would you think it would make people hate themselves? Expand on that, because there's a problem there with all of that weird use of woke and the wanting to get rid of the history, and then like the other sides of that equation, where there's the people racisted against or oppressed, or the descendants of the really super oppressed, and at the hands of these other people that are kind of still doing the same things. And so I think this is what I was going to say about the hawk thing, but somebody was on there complaining about how like black people are like, I don't know why they think black people don't have jobs and like are all on welfare and all have like 30 kids from different baby daddies apiece, and because that's just not the case. Like, how do you think these girls are paying to get their hair done and their nails done and pay rent and have kids and all that? They have jobs, and men as well, because they have cars and also families, and just weird like assumptions that get made and rumors that people are just like, that's the way it is. But the other complaint was, and they're always asking for reparations. I don't know that that's true. I've heard very few black people in my whole like 60 plus years mention it at all. Excuse me. There's some talk about it, but it's usually in like academia and government, and it's very conceptual. So let us scream about it if that's what we're doing, but nobody's getting it. So what are you even worried about? It's like baloney. The fears. And so, but there's something behind that too. Oh, I'm going to make a real effort not to do what I see a lot of people doing, because it sounds bad. I'm not going to specify what it is, but I'm going to move on. So, exactly what is the problem there, DeSantis? What is it that you're so afraid of people learning about what happened at the hands of people that you vaguely resemble, and yet you feel obviously some type of responsibility? Not in the correct way. Like, you're not like, it's not a taking of what he's taking responsibility for is to making sure no one else has to hear about it. But this is a particular person. Not everyone wants to be in the dark. I don't know if this is true, but I read several years ago that when he was dating, he would mispronounce Thai, like Thai food or Thailand, as Thai. to see if the woman he was dating would correct him, and then if she correct him, she was unacceptable. And I just thought, here's that again. Just sweep the unacceptable, or like what you can't handle, under the rug, and then nobody else can know about it because it's invisible, and then you don't look bad. Again, what the how bad do I look? How does that make me feel bad? It's like, so you acknowledge the bad stuff happened. You don't want anybody to know about it. What about the people that the bad stuff happened to, and like, you know, literally centuries later? Like I was saying, not a lot has changed. There's a lot of the same attitudes, the same like prejudices, a lot of violence still happens. And just because you're black, you know, you get no quarter in this world for that. I swear to God, unless it's from other black people. And I can't just be absolute about it, because that's not true either. It's not absolute. There are people that do have empathy and that do care and that do understand. Like, it's terrible, but to hide from thinking about it is not going to ever fix anything. Like, all sides of the matter, in my opinion, need healing. And I can't help but feel like DeSantis is just like demonstration number one. So that's been on my mind. And I have some cards, so quickly, they're from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck first. And then first card I have is Dream Thief, refusal of the call. So I'm gonna say that that's a nightmare. That's a conglomeration of all of your fears. And you know, the night thief, or the dream thief, it's what's keeping you up at night. Refusal of the call. In the case of Mr. DeSantis, I would say that it's refusing to take, responsibility for what you feel. Like, no one's gonna make you, write checks to retribution if that's what you're afraid of. But it would go a long way if you would admit, what happened was bad and it makes me feel bad, and that's how I can acknowledge it. Like, just even saying that would, like I said, it would go a long way, because people would know where you're coming from. So the next card is Whale Song, and the subtitle is Resonating. And you can see that whale there is in a bubble, and it almost looks like it's floating on top of a wave there, or on the edge of it, bubble surfing a wave. They have to be a pretty big wave, because I don't know if you realize how big a whale is. Whales are really big. I know, that's a technical term. Anyway, so the resonating. As far as what I was just talking about, the whales are very protective and they're very family oriented. They want to protect their pods and their baby. They are like sea elephants. They have that sort of protective energy. I feel like. And then also metaphysically, mystically, they're, or scientifically even, they're just intelligent, wise creatures. They live a long time. And we can't even really conceive of what a whale's life would be like, over that extended period of time. What might a whale have seen over its lifetime in one of our oceans, where it might have started out very crystal clear and free of man-made debris, and then now today it probably looks like a bathtub full of kids' toys. I'm sure there's no shortage of rubber duckies and that type of debris in the ocean, and it makes me sad, and it's not good. The spread of the microparticles is just pervasive, and however it's like such a situation that can be rectified or reversed. But as far as the resonating, sometimes, like you've heard like whale song, maybe it's been recorded for a long time. Like I remember seeing vinyl like in record stores of whale song, and then you could get it obviously online. But I think it also occurs at levels that we can't hear, that we don't know we're hearing. Like some stuff like subaural, like below the level of our ability to hear consciously, it could be damaging, you know, like it's vibration, and so you've already got a vibration situation that makes sound translate into something that we can recognize with the other parts of our brain. And so, and that is like a type of resonance when there's a vibration. Between us, and even like not even realizing it, like with the santis, where I feel like he's got this protective energy, and it's kind of warped because it's only protective of like certain things. It's very conditional. And he may not like really be aware of like what he's doing. Like he's built this woke wall of, you know, the opposite of what various ways he was using it. He's like flipped it around into like the negative aspect, or the negative as opposed to the you know, the photo that you make from the negative, or the impression. And then he also is like wanting to protect these young minds from something that obviously he realizes causes pain, and must to him in some way. And so, like, I don't know that he realizes how, like, almost more than like protective whale mother, than like, speaking of ducks, like mother duck or goose, protective of their young. They can be pretty fierce, but something is resonating in this guy to where it's like he's kind of feeling like the wrongness and the pain, and he's kind of getting like this nurturing sort of protective thing going. But like I said, to me it's kind of like warped, or, you know, like missing pieces. It's not coming across as like a good type of thing to me. But you know, who am I? Who am I to judge? So next card is First Breath, Beginner's Mind. So this always looks like these planets are kind of colliding. And by the way, in space, no planets are that close together. This is like a pool table behind this sort of ghostly, to me, figure. Might have wings, but also the thing that I'm always struck by is the face looks like it has some sort of ceremonial paint that like an indigenous person might wear. The person in the figure that I see is like androgynous to me, and they're in motion. It almost looks like she's going like this. I'm calling her she. See if you can see that on there, where they're making that sort of arm gesture. Why can't I see it? Where's it? One's where? How's it go? One's hooked up like this, and the other's the other way. Yeah, the up arm is on this side, and then there it is. Hook the shoulder, and it goes out, and the elbow bends down. Like, what is that? Some kind of dance. Actually, I call that rhythmic posing. That's not, there's no real dancing involved there. So, so first breath, beginner's mind, that's interesting that I thought of like a pool table, because for some reason the balls on the pool table look like planets, but the, you know how you start out with the triangle, and then you, with the white cue ball, you break up the triangle, and I feel like that's what's happening here. In like, you're starting a new game, it's a reset, I guess, and this is the spirit of the new beginning, and the first breath of the new beginning, I guess, is what the figure is symbolic of. Beginner's mind and first breath. How many times has the beginner begun? Do they understand like how these things work, or are they just totally green, you know? I already said reset, so I feel like they're not that much of a beginner. Like, they're beginning again, which is, we do it all the time. Next card is Heart Home, and the subtitle is Compassion. For some reason, I mean, this definitely looks like a house to me, but it also sort of reminds me of a carriage, and also like a bug face, or like an other dimensional sort of visage. But I know there's like pareidolia going on here, and this looks like it was made, the illustration was made to make you do that. But there's also butterflies on here, so that's more like new beginning, transformation, and compassion. You know, he has compassion for these young people, I guess. So if you look at this, you can see there's butterfly there, and I believe that's another one, and other, I haven't really taken a close look at those, but you can see like there's windows, but they could be eyes, and then there's like a mouth sort of thing here. But it also reminds me of a carriage, like a Cinderella carriage, but right here there's like this hasp looking thing, as if like it's a hinge. And since it's here, then it would have to move forward, like open forward like that, which is awkward, I think, for like a, you know, mass-produced sort of carriage, but what do I know? It's a different type of architecture, but it looks like there's room for more than one family in this dwelling, or plenty of room for one family, you know, in order to allow you to, you know, once you're off to your new start, and now you've made it to your new home, and you've gone through all these steps and stages. Yeah, I guess it's like where he has all this care and concern for these young people. Like, I guess that's totally real. Nothing wrong with that, but I just wish that they were more generous with it. Like, they had that much care for everyone. And so the final card is Contract, which, as you see here, doesn't really have anything on it, except I think you might say contract right there. And that could, symbolize the end of a cycle or a new cycle beginning. And I don't know, like, maybe this sort of signifies another part of a new beginning where compassion allows, like, a DeSantis in a situation like this to, for some reason, begin to have compassion for, like, all of the kids. Because, by the way, having to hear all of that stuff as the descendant of some of those people that were enslaved, it doesn't feel great for us either. You have to be sitting there hearing these terrible things that were done to you by these descendants of colonists, these European descendants. And what do they think that feels like for us? Like, I have to tell you, though, never did I look to the kids on the other side of me that were white and go, oh my God, you did this to dead people that I'm a descendant of and I hate you. And no, like, I didn't hear that in my head. I didn't hear those other kids having this self-hate thing. Like I said, I think that's specific to him, but I could be wrong because I have not taken a survey. But all of those sort of things cumulatively together, like it was keeping him up at night, worried that this history was going to harm these people, these young people, and in a way that resonated, that made him protective, and then something broke up the I forget what you call it in pool, but the triangle of balls, like once you take off the shaper, the triangle thing, I can't remember what that's called either, but the reset gets broken open, and the next steps in the process come along, and those develop into something, relationships fall into place, like people get to know each other better, and that often opens up your heart and allows you to develop more compassion. So maybe that's where that guy is heading, because he does run a whole state, and so the opportunity is there for him, and with the input of all of these other concerned parties, to forge a new contract, to get together and work out something that is beneficial for everyone in the situation. So I mean, that's my hope for it. And I did pull a card from the, what's it, the Body Oracle. It's in Spanish too, and so I'm like, oh wait, that's not part of it. Anyway, the card I pulled was the digestive system, and the subtitle is Metabolize. Take what nourishes and eliminate the rest. Well, digest. Sometimes that's what it takes for you to assimilate some information that you've downloaded passively, maybe even unconsciously, and you gotta sleep on it, you gotta, some time just has to pass. If you're not aware that it's happening, then you're just gonna be doing stuff that may not immediately make sense, but underneath it does make sense to you, otherwise you wouldn't proceed to do it. I think that's it. I don't know. I hope that the situation with the santis gets better, because they actually got a lot of stuff going on that's, like, on the surface it may look okay, but it's not. It's like, I don't think it should be so hateful. Like, I don't think it's going to help the overall physical and mental health of the state. Anyway, thank you and good night.